Lando Norris takes pole at the Italian Grand Prix, whilst title rival Max Verstappen only manages P7. Hey guys, welcome back to On Track GP. I'm Jamie Chambers, and this is our full review of practice and qualifying for Monza. First up was Friday morning practice. Max Verstappen topped the timesheet in the opening practice session, but it was Kimi Antonelli's F1 debut, P1 opening lap time, and subsequent crash that dominated the headlines. Let's kick things off with the big story of the day, Max Verstappen. He looked like he was back to doing what he does best, topping the timesheet with a scorching lap of 1:21.676. But here's the kicker, he pulled this off in the final minutes of the session. Talk about leaving it late. However, Max's performance wasn't even the most talked about event of FP1. That honour goes to young Kimi Antonelli, making his Formula 1 debut for Mercedes. And what a debut it was. Antonelli, stepping in for George Russell as part of Mercedes' mandatory young driver outings, hit the track like a seasoned pro. He then hit something else like a seasoned pro later. On his very first lap, yes, you heard that right, his first lap, he shot straight to P1 with a 1:23.9. The paddock was buzzing, and for a moment it looked like we might be witnessing the birth of F1's next superstar. But, as we all know, F1 can be cruel. Just 11 minutes into the session, with a purple middle sector under his belt, disaster struck. Antonelli lost control of the W15 at the infamous Parabolica, resulting in a high-speed spin and a hard hit into the barrier. The session was red flagged, and you could hear the collective gasp from the grandstands. Toto Wolff was quick to reassure the young driver over the radio, but you had to wonder at the time how this looked to the Mercedes team, given Antonelli hadn't yet been announced as Hamilton's replacement. As it turns out, the crash didn't affect that decision at all. Once the track was cleared and the session resumed, we saw some familiar faces battling it out at the top. Charles Leclerc, carrying the hopes of the Tifosi, finished second, just 0.228 seconds behind Verstappen. Lando Norris continued McLaren's strong form, claiming third place, a mere 0.013 seconds behind Leclerc. The Papaya team seem to have found their groove in the latter half of this season. Now, let's not forget about another rookie that is making waves, Franco Colapinto. The Argentinian has stepped into Logan Sargent's seat at Williams, and while he didn't set the world on fire, he kept it clean. Finishing 17th, about 0.7 seconds off his teammate Alex Albon, it's a solid, if unspectacular, start for Colapinto. The resurfaced Monza track threw a few curveballs at the drivers. The flattened curbs and new gravel traps caught out several big names. We saw Verstappen taking a scenic route around Turn 1 bollards, while local hero Carlos Sainz got up close and personal with the new gravel at the chicane. Speaking of the track, there were some unexpected names popping up at the top of the timesheet during the session. Alex Albon and Valtteri Bottas both had stints in P1, with Bottas setting an impressive 1:21.1. Next up was second practice session at Monza. Mercedes' Lewis Hamilton emerged as the fastest driver, clocking an impressive 1:20.738. The seven-time world champion narrowly edged out McLaren's Lando Norris by a mere 0.003 seconds, setting the stage for what promised to be an intensely competitive weekend. Norris, fresh off his dominant victory at Zandvoort, is looking to secure back-to-back wins for the first time in his Formula 1 career. Ferrari, the home favourite, showed strong pace, with Carlos Sainz securing the third fastest time, just over a tenth behind Hamilton. Oscar Piastri continued McLaren's impressive form by taking fourth, while Charles Leclerc, the last Ferrari driver to win at Monza in 2019, rounded out the top five. The Italian team's performance undoubtedly raised the hopes of the passionate Tifosi for a podium finish on Sunday. The session was not without drama, as Kevin Magnussen's crash at Lesmo 2 brought out the red flags, suspending the action for nearly 15 minutes. This incident adds to the mounting pressure on Magnussen, who is facing an uncertain future in F1 after being informed of his replacement by Esteban Ocon for the 2025 season. Meanwhile, George Russell overcame a delayed start due to repairs from Kimi Antonelli's FP1 crash to secure 6th place. Now, notably absent from the top positions was reigning world champion Max Verstappen, who finished a surprising 14th after aborting his soft tyre run. Despite his usual dominance, Verstappen's performance in FP2 suggests that the Italian Grand Prix could potentially be another disruption to his recent run of success, having won just 3 of his last 10 races. With his Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez closely behind him 15th, the stage is set for an unpredictable and exciting race weekend at the Temple of Speed. So Lewis Hamilton of Mercedes topped the timesheet with a blistering lap of 1:20.738, narrowly edging out McLaren's Lando Norris by 0.03 seconds. Ferrari showed strong home ground performance, with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc securing 3rd and 5th positions respectively. They were split by Oscar Piastri's McLaren in 4th, George Russell completed a solid session for Mercedes in 6th, while Nico Hülkenberg impressed not just myself but also Haas in 7th. Daniel Ricciardo continued his comeback in 8th place for RB, and the Aston Martin duo of Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll rounded out the top 10, all within 0.625 seconds of Hamilton's pace. In this morning's final practice session, Mercedes showed impressive form, with Lewis Hamilton leading a 1-2 finish. Hamilton, who recently announced his departure from Mercedes, with Kimi Antonelli set to replace him next season, set the pace with a blistering lap of 1:20.117. His teammate George Russell followed closely, just 0.093 seconds behind, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc secured the 3rd spot, much to the delight of the home crowd. The session began with Red Bull attempting to bounce back from their surprisingly poor performance on Friday. Max Verstappen initially topped the timesheet, but the team's struggles persisted throughout the practice. Verstappen complained of issues with grip and turning, particularly in low and medium speed corners, which are abundant in Monza. Despite these challenges, he managed to finish 6th, while his teammate Sergio Perez languished in 18th place. Not great for a Red Bull at the temple of speed. Ferrari showed strong pace on their home turf, with both Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz taking turns at the top of the timesheet. The Scuderia's performance of used tyres was particularly impressive, raising hopes for a competitive showing in qualifying and the race. McLaren also demonstrated good speed, with Oscar Piastri briefly leading the session early on. Again, the practice session wasn't without its moments of drama. Hamilton had a close call when he took too much of the newly flattened curbs and went airborne. Rookie Franco Colapinto impressed with his car control after running wide in the Williams. There was also a notable incident between Piastri and Leclerc, which caught the steward's attention for potential impeding. As the session drew to a close, Kevin Magnussen's Haas suffered a technical issue, forcing him to stop on the track. With Mercedes showing strong pace, Ferrari performing well at home, and Red Bull unexpectedly struggling, the Italian Grand Prix weekend is shaping up to be full of surprises. There were also surprise good performances for Alexander Albon in the Williams. Rookie Franco Colapinto continued in rest in 9th, while Nico Hülkenberg rounded out the top 10 for Haas. And now on to qualifying, and in a stunning show of pace, McLaren's Lando Norris secured pole position with a blistering lap of 1:19.327, leading a McLaren front row lockout with teammate Oscar Piastri in 2nd. This remarkable achievement came as Red Bull, the dominant force of the season, struggled uncharacteristically throughout the session. Reigning world champion Max Verstappen could only manage 7th place, expressing frustration with his car's lack of grip. Mercedes showed strong form, with George Russell claiming 3rd place, narrowly edging out the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, much to the disappointment of the passionate Tifosi. Carlos Sainz rounded out the top 5 for Ferrari, followed by Lewis Hamilton in 6th. Sergio Perez in the 2nd Red Bull finished 8th, underlining the team's unexpected difficulties at Monza. Williams' Alex Albon and Haas's Nico Hülkenberg completed the top 10. The qualifying session was not without drama, particularly in the earlier stages. Williams' rookie Franco Colapinto showed promise but ultimately fell short in Q1 after running wide at the 2nd Lesmo corner. There was also a notable incident involving Oscar Piastri, who was investigated for an unsafe release that forced Max Verstappen to brake hard to avoid a collision. Kevin Magnussen's excursion at Ascari brought out yellow flags, potentially affecting other drivers' laps. Q2 saw some surprise eliminations, with Fernando Alonso missing out on Q3 by a mere 0.01 seconds. Daniel Ricciardo, Kevin Magnussen and the Alpine duo Pierre Gasly and Esteban Ocon also failed to progress to the final session. The track evolution throughout qualifying following recent resurfacing work added an extra layer of complexity to the team's strategies. As the grid took shape for Sunday's race, the stage is set for an exciting and unpredictable Italian Grand Prix, with McLaren locking out the front row, Mercedes showing strong pace and Red Bull unexpectedly on the back foot. The race promises to be a thrilling contest. The passionate Monza crowd will be eagerly anticipating whether their beloved Ferraris can challenge for victory on home soil, while all eyes will be on Verstappen to see if he can mount a comeback from his uncharacteristically low starting position. So, to round up qualifying, Lando Norris set the fastest lap with a 1:19.327, narrowly edging out his McLaren teammate Oscar Piastri by 0.109 seconds. George Russell followed closely in 3rd, only 0.113 seconds off the pace, with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz completing the top 5, both within 0.14 seconds of Norris. Lewis Hamilton placed 6th, 0.186 seconds behind, while Max Verstappen surprisingly found himself in 7th, almost 0.7 seconds adrift. Sergio Perez was 8th, followed by Alexander Albon and Nico Hülkenberg, who rounded out the top 10. Points for Hulk, let's hope. Fernando Alonso led the second half of the field, clocking a time of 1:20.421 to secure 11th. Daniel Ricciardo followed closely in 12th, and was also followed by Kevin Magnussen and Pierre Gasly in 13th and 14th respectively, while Esteban Ocon slightly trailing in 15th. Yuki Tsunoda, Lance Stroll and Franco Colapino occupied 16th, 17th and 18th positions. And unsurprisingly, at the back were the Sauber pair of Valtteri Bottas, who took 19th, and Zhou Guanyu in 20th. Just as a note, they were over 2 seconds off the leader. However, the qualifying session wasn't without controversy. Both Piastri and Max Verstappen have been summoned by the stewards regarding a potential unsafe release by McLaren during Q2. Additionally, Carlos Sainz will be investigated for a similar incident involving a Red Bull in Q3. Looks like they were out for the Red Bulls. These investigations could lead to penalties, potentially affecting the final grid positions ahead of the race, though it's more likely that they will be team fines. So my predictions for tomorrow are looking decent. I can still see Piastri beating Norris to the lead before turn 1, but a Norris win and fastest lap is on the cards. Hopefully Hulk can break his pointless duck and not come in 11th for the 7th time this season. Here's hoping. Do we have a title challenge on our hands? Can Norris cut the gap to Verstappen even further? Who are you watching out for tomorrow? Will Ferrari improve for their home GP? And can Red Bull do anything to turn things around? As always, let me know in the comments. Remember to like, comment, share and subscribe. Keep the pedal to the metal, and I'll see you at the checkered flag.